Do children understand the reason America celebrates a holiday for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. every year? It's not a day off in most Wisconsin school districts, and in many Wisconsin school districts there is no formal official recognition of the holiday at all. In order for children to understand the impact of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King on people's lives around the world, they need to hear people share. They need to learn about Dr. King's life, his times, and his work. Here are some great books for children that tell the complex yet compelling story of a great American hero, Dr. King. For our youngest children, nothing gets them ready to read like a great picture book. Prominent picture book author David Adler has written an entire series on famous Americans. His work, A Picture Book of Dr. Martin Luther King, is an outstanding beginning biography that tells the story of Dr. King's lives in a way that children can understand, and it's illustrated with beautiful pictures so they can see the story and that they can actually learn to tell it themselves. Letters from Today's Children to Dr. Martin Luther King is written by Jan Colbert, and it's a compilation of letters written from children to Dr. King. It's fun to imagine how Dr. King would have reacted and enjoyed these letters had he been alive to read them. Many of the letters pull at your heartstrings, and many are just cute and funny. Typically, this is a great book for young readers, perhaps somewhere between the 3rd and the 6th grade. MLK, The Journey of a King, is by Tonya Bolden. Is another excellent book about Dr. Martin Luther King, in this case a profile of his life and times. It's also an appropriate read, typically for children between the 3rd and the 6th grade. Mountaintop, How Poverty, Labor Fights, and the Civil Rights Set the Stage for Dr. Martin Luther King's Final Hours, is written by Amy Balsam. It's typically a good read for 4th to 7th graders, and presents connections between the sanitation strike in Memphis and King's death, which have not received a great deal of attention, especially in books written for children. This book puts the context of a great historical speech and the tragedy that followed into historical perspective, and is a good read for the typical 4th to 7th grader. Martin Luther King, A Man with a Dream, is written by Jane Pettit, and is another book that would be an excellent read for 4th to 7th graders. It's part of the book series, Book Reports Biographies, which share concise, manageable reads about famous people that have changed our lives. This book summarizes the life of the civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Just Like Martin, by Ossie Davis, is a compelling story for middle and some high school students. Davis has created some historical fiction based on the aftermath of 2 classmates killed in a bomb explosion in an Alabama church. Mirroring actual events in U.S. history, a 14-year-old organizes a children's march for civil rights in the autumn of 1963. King's Courage is by Stacy Dosh and Rhodey Cohen. It's especially a fun read for middle school students, where Mr. Carruthers' History Club travels back in time to help Dr. Martin Luther King decide whether or not he should lead a voters' right march to Montgomery, Alabama in 1965. Martin Luther King, Civil Rights Leader, is written by Robert Jacobek, and it's also appropriate for middle and high school students. It's part of the Black American Achievement Series, and it recounts the life of Nobel Prize-winning civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., presenting Dr. King as an intellectual, articulate, and effective leader whose oratorical skills and his commitment to change have propelled him into the national spotlight. In Madison, kids have the day off of school, and across town you'll find a number of observations and commemorations for the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But most school children in Wisconsin do not get the day off, nor do they have access to special commemorative ceremonies. Recreational reading has always been an important part of reading development. Why not share a great book about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with a child you love? And if you'd like to know more about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, visit the website we've created at madisonvoices.com/MLK. That's madisonvoices.com/MLK. It's organized to be a pathfinder. We tell you how to find great books about Dr. King in your local library, online, and we suggest great books articles, and provide links to other wonderful websites to learn about an American hero.